Commander Lee Hyun walked slowly through the giant metal doors that led to the viewing platform. His heavy boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor as he moved deeper into the facility. This place was buried so deep under the desert that no one on the surface could ever find it. 3 kilometers of sand and rock sat above his head, but Lee Hyun felt safe here. This was where humanity kept its greatest secret. The viewing screens were as big as buildings and showed everything happening in the work areas below. Thousands of people in white uniforms moved around like busy ants. They were putting the final pieces on something that would change everything. Lee Hyun had been watching this work for 20 years and still felt amazed every time he came here. Captain Park Mina walked up behind him. Her face looked worried and she carried a thick folder full of papers. She had been running, and her breathing was still fast. Park Mina was one of the best people at reading alien signals, and when she looked worried, everyone else should worry too. "The aliens have been watching us for so long," Park Mina said as she opened her folder. "Their spy satellites are moving more than usual. Something big is happening up there and we need to be ready for it." She showed Lee Hyun pictures taken by their secret cameras hidden all around the solar system. For 50 long years, humanity had been playing a very dangerous game. Every person on Earth knew about the aliens watching them from space, but most people did not know about the secret plan. The government told everyone to act normal and primitive, while the smartest people worked underground building the most amazing things anyone had ever seen. Lee Hyun remembered when he was young and his father told him about the first alien ship that came to Earth. The aliens looked at humans and decided they were too stupid and weak to be dangerous. They put spy stations all around the solar system to watch Earth, but they only watched the surface. They never looked underground because they thought humans were too primitive to build anything impressive under the ground. Admiral Kim Tae walked over to join them at the viewing screens. He was old now but still strong, and his eyes were sharp, like a hunting bird. Kim Tae had been planning this secret project since he was a young soldier, and now he was finally seeing it come together. In his hands he held reports from spies that had been living among the aliens for decades. "The Galactic Council is planning something," Kim Tae said in his deep voice. "Our people living on alien worlds are sending us messages that the Council is getting ready for a big meeting. They are going to vote on what to do about Earth, and we all know what they want to do." Down in the work areas, giant machines were putting armor plates on ships that were bigger than cities. Each ship could carry millions of people and had weapons that could destroy planets. But the most amazing thing was not how big the ships were, or how powerful their weapons were. The most amazing thing was that no alien anywhere in the galaxy knew these ships existed. Dr. Choi, So Young, came walking up to them carrying a strange device that glowed with blue light. She was the smartest person on Earth when it came to making weapons, and she had spent her whole life learning how to use alien technology to make things even better than what the aliens had. Her laboratories were full of inventions that would surprise the entire galaxy. "Look at this," So Young said as she held up the glowing device. "This little thing can make our biggest ships invisible to any alien sensor. We have been testing it for months and it works perfectly. When the aliens come looking for primitive humans, they will find empty space where Earth should be." The underground cities were busy all the time now. Families lived in beautiful homes carved out of rock and metal. Children went to schools where they learned about space travel and alien languages and how to fight in zero gravity. Everyone had a job to do in the Great Plan, and everyone understood how important their work was. Lee Hyun watched a group of young people training to pilot the giant ships. They moved like dancers as they practiced using controls that were more advanced than anything the aliens had ever built. These young pilots could fly circles around the best alien warriors, and the aliens had no idea these people even existed. The secret had been kept perfectly for 50 years. Fathers told sons and mothers told daughters, but the secret never escaped to the surface world where alien spies might hear it. Everyone who knew the truth understood that their species would live or die based on keeping this secret until the right moment came. Looking at the final ship receiving its special coating, that would make it invisible to alien eyes, Lee Hyun smiled, but his smile was not happy. It was the smile of a predator getting ready to hunt. The aliens had made the biggest mistake anyone could make. They thought humans were weak because humans acted weak. They thought humans were stupid because humans pretended to be stupid. Tomorrow, The alien council would make their decision about Earth. They would vote to send their warships to conquer what they thought was a helpless planet full of primitive people. They would expect an easy victory against a species that could barely leave their own planet. The aliens were about to learn that assumptions could be deadly. They were about to discover that the species they thought was weakest was actually the strongest. They were about to find out that humans were not the students in this galaxy. Humans were the teachers, and the lesson was going to be written in burning alien ships scattered across space. Li Hyun turned away from the viewing screens and walked toward the command center. It was time to send the final messages to human agents scattered across the galaxy. It was time to tell every human colony and every human spy that the waiting was almost over. Soon the greatest secret in galactic history would be revealed and nothing would ever be the same again. The ships were ready. The weapons were charged. The people were trained. All that remained was for the aliens to make their move and learn that they had been hunting the wrong prey all along. The Galactic Council meeting hall was bigger than most cities. Representatives from hundreds of alien species sat in floating chairs arranged in perfect circles around a central speaking area. The walls were made of crystal that showed the stars outside and reminded everyone how vast their empire was. This was where the most powerful beings in the galaxy made decisions that affected billions of lives. Ambassador Vex stood up to address the council. His people were made of living metal that reflected the light from the crystal walls. When he spoke, his voice sounded like music played on metal instruments. He had been studying the humans for many years and believed he knew everything about them. The third planet of the Sol system contains a species that calls itself Human Vex, announced to the assembled representatives. Our studies show they are perfect for our mining operations. They are strong enough to work but too primitive to cause trouble. We should claim this planet and its people before they become more advanced. Elder Kryn from the Crystal Collective laughed, and the sound was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Her people were ancient and had conquered many species over the millions of years they had existed. She found the humans amusing in the same way someone might find a pet amusing. "Have you seen their space program?" Kryn asked the council while showing pictures of human rockets exploding and falling into oceans. They can barely leave their atmosphere. Most of their attempts to reach their own moon end in failure. They still fight wars with chemical weapons and metal bullets. A single one of our scout ships could destroy their entire civilization. General Zek of the War Clan stood up, and his massive body cast shadows across half the meeting hall. His people lived for battle and conquest, and they measured the worth of other species by how well they could fight. The humans had impressed him not at all during his observations. "I have watched their military forces," Zek growled in his deep voice that sounded like distant thunder. "They have no energy weapons, and their fastest ships move slower than our cargo vessels. Their largest armies could not defeat one of our smallest patrol units. This will not even be a real battle. It will be target practice for our warriors." The vote was supposed to be a formality, but some representatives wanted to discuss the details. How many ships would they need? Was it worth the cost of fuel to travel all the way to such a distant and unimportant system? Should they bother trying to keep the humans alive, or just eliminate them completely? Senator Locke from the Trade Federation was more interested in profits than conquest. His people were merchants who saw value in every transaction and waste in every unnecessary expense. He calculated the costs and benefits of claiming the human world and decided it was barely worth the effort. "We should send our smallest fleet," Locke announced while showing financial projections on the great screens. "The humans have some valuable metals on their planet, and their bodies might be useful for dangerous work. But they are not worth a major military operation. 50 ships should be more than enough to handle whatever resistance they might offer." What the council members did not know was that every word they spoke was being recorded by human devices hidden throughout the station. Agent Wan Jae-ho had been working as a maintenance worker on the station for 15 years, and no one suspected he was human. His job was to keep the air systems working, but his real job was to gather intelligence. Wan Jae-ho listened to the council debate through tiny devices he had placed in the walls during routine repair work. Every plan they made and every detail they discussed was being transmitted back to Earth through communication systems the aliens could not detect. The humans knew exactly what was coming and when it would arrive. The council members felt confident and superior as they planned their easy conquest. Each of their ships could destroy mountains with single shots, and their shields could stop any weapon the humans might possess. They had conquered hundreds of species over the centuries, and none had ever posed a real challenge to their power. Admiral Rex of the Void Fleet was chosen to lead the mission. He was experienced at subduing primitive species and had never lost a battle. His 50 ships represented enough firepower to conquer entire solar systems, and he saw the human assignment as an easy way to earn glory and promotion. "We will arrive at their planet and demand immediate surrender," Rex explained to the council. "When they see our ships, they will realize how hopeless their situation is. Those who surrender will become workers. Those who resist will be eliminated. Within one planetary rotation, their world will belong to us." The meeting ended with unanimous approval for the conquest mission. Every council member voted to claim Earth and enslave humanity. They scheduled the departure for the next day and expected to receive reports of total victory within 2 months. Not one of them imagined they might be making a mistake. As the representatives left the meeting hall to return to their home worlds, one Jeho finished his shift and walked to his small quarters. He activated a hidden communication device and sent a detailed report to his handlers on Earth. The message traveled through quantum channels that bypassed all alien detection systems. The council had made their decision, but they had made it based on completely false information. For 50 years, they had been watching a carefully constructed illusion, while the real humanity prepared for this exact moment. Every failed rocket launch they observed had been staged. Every primitive technology they detected had been a lie. 1. Jeho smiled as he thought about what would happen when Rex and his 50 ships arrived at Earth, expecting to find helpless primitives. Instead, they would find the most advanced military force the galaxy had ever seen. The hunters were about to become the hunted, and they had no idea what was waiting for them. The conquest fleet began preparing for departure, confident in their overwhelming superiority. They loaded extra supplies for the victory celebration they planned to hold on the conquered human world. None of them realized they were flying toward the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, the most secret room on Earth buzzed with activity. President Yang Soo-jin stood before a massive table covered with holographic displays showing every detail of the approaching alien fleet. She had been preparing for this moment her entire life, and now the time had finally come to reveal what humanity had really been doing for the past 50 years. Dr. Kang Min-ho activated the main display system, and suddenly the room filled with images that would have shocked any alien observer. Around Earth, hundreds of massive structures began appearing as their stealth systems deactivated. These were not the simple satellites the aliens thought they were watching. These were fortress stations, each one bigger than the alien capital, ships. "Behold our true orbital defense network," Min-ho announced as the images showed weapon systems that dwarfed anything in the alien arsenal. "Each fortress contains enough firepower to destroy fleets, and their shields can withstand direct hits from planet-killer weapons. We have been building them for 30 years right under the aliens' noses." Captain Nam Ye-young led a group of world leaders through corridors that stretched for kilometers beneath the Earth. The underground complex was not just a military base, it was an entire city, complete with factories, schools, hospitals, and residential areas. Millions of people lived and worked here, maintaining the greatest secret in human history. "This is where we really live," Nam Ye-young explained as they walked past massive assembly lines, where workers put finishing touches on spacecraft that looked nothing like the primitive rockets the aliens had been observing. Each of these ships is larger than anything in the alien fleet, and equipped with technology that makes their most advanced vessels look like ancient relics. The tour continued into the main construction bay, where the centerpiece of human engineering sat ready for launch. The ship was so large it had its own artificial gravity and weather systems. Its hull gleamed with metals that had never been seen on the surface of Earth, and its weapon systems could crack planets in half. Admiral Ko Jae-sung joined the group and began explaining the deception that had fooled the entire galaxy. While the aliens watched primitive human space programs fail repeatedly, the real space program had been achieving miracles of engineering. faster than light travel had been, mastered decades ago. Energy manipulation had advanced beyond alien comprehension. Weapons technology had reached levels that would terrify galactic civilizations. Every rocket that exploded on the surface was supposed to explode, Ko explained with evident pride in his voice. Every satellite that failed to reach orbit was designed to fail. Every space mission that ended in disaster was carefully planned to reinforce alien beliefs about human limitations. We have been the greatest actors in galactic history. The underground cities revealed their true purpose as the group continued their tour. What appeared to be bomb shelters were actually training centers where millions of humans had learned to operate technology that surpassed anything the aliens possessed. Children who had never seen the surface sky could pilot ships through hyperspace and coordinate fleet movements across multiple star systems. In the medical centers, Dr. Kim Hwa-young showed the leaders genetic modifications that had been secretly given to every human born in the past 20 years. Enhanced reflexes, improved intelligence, increased physical strength, and the ability to survive in any environment. The new generation of humans were superior to their parents and far superior to any alien species. The manufacturing facilities stretched across entire underground continents. Asteroid mining operations disguised as scientific research had provided unlimited raw materials for decades. Automated factories worked constantly producing weapon ships and equipment for the coming conflict. The industrial capacity hidden beneath Earth's surface exceeded that of entire alien civilizations. Commander Ryu Sujin demonstrated weapons that could tear apart alien ships like paper, energy cannons that fired concentrated starlight plasma torpedoes that could phase through any known shield technology, and gravitational manipulators that could crush enemy vessels by altering space-time itself. The aliens were bringing primitive weapons to fight gods of war. The most shocking revelation came when Yang Su-jin activated the Galactic communication network. Suddenly, the room filled with messages from human colonies scattered across the galaxy. For 50 years, while the aliens thought humans were trapped on their homeworld, human ships had been secretly establishing bases on hundreds of planets. "We have been among them, all along," Yang Su-jin announced as reports came in from agents working within alien governments. "Our people have been studying their weaknesses, learning their secrets, and preparing for this day. When the conquest fleet arrives, they will find that we know everything about them while they know nothing about us." The deception had been perfect and total. Every aspect of human civilization that the aliens could observe had been carefully constructed to hide the truth. Surface cities were real, but they housed only a fraction of humanity population. The rest lived underground in cities more advanced than anything the aliens had built. As the alien fleet approached Earth confident in their superiority, they had no idea they were flying into a trap 50 years in the making. They expected to find a primitive planet populated by helpless savages. Instead, they would discover the most advanced military force in galactic history, commanded by a species that had spent half a century studying every weakness their enemies possessed. The time for hiding was over. Tomorrow, when the alien ships arrived expecting easy conquest, they would learn that humanity had never been the prey in this relationship. Humans had always been the predators, and now it was finally time to hunt. Admiral Grex stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the primitive solar system grow larger on his viewing screens. His 50 warships moved through space in perfect formation, each one bristling with weapons that could destroy continents. This was going to be the easiest conquest in his long military career, and he was already planning the victory celebration. The fleet had traveled for weeks to reach this distant backwater system, and Grex was eager to complete the mission quickly. His ships represented the finest military technology the galaxy had to offer. Their weapons could penetrate any defense, their shields could stop any attack, and their sensors could detect enemies from impossible distances. "Where is their planet?" Communications Officer Vac asked from his station as the sensors showed nothing but empty space, where Earth should be located. "According to our star charts, the third planet should be visible by now, but I am detecting no planetary mass at the expected coordinates." Admiral Grex frowned and ordered his sensors to scan more carefully. The planet had to be there because their spy satellites had been monitoring it for decades. Perhaps there was some kind of sensor malfunction or unusual stellar phenomena blocking their view of the target world. The confusion lasted exactly 37 seconds. Commander Song Do-hyun gave a signal from his hidden position on Earth, and suddenly the trap was revealed. The empty space around the alien fleet erupted with human ships that materialized from nowhere, like ghosts becoming solid. Each human vessel was larger than the alien flagship, and there were thousands of them. "What is this?" Grex shouted as his sensors tried to count the enemy ships surrounding his fleet. The numbers made no sense. The humans were supposed to have no space capability beyond primitive chemical rockets. How could they have built a fleet that made his 50 ships look like a small patrol? Captain Lim Hai-ri commanded the lead human squadron and gave the order to begin the demonstration. Human weapon systems activated and fired warning shots that passed through the alien formation without hitting any ships. The energy beams were unlike anything in galactic military science, burning space itself and leaving trails of disrupted matter. "This is Captain Lim of the Earth Defense Force broadcasting on all frequencies. You have entered human space without permission and with hostile intent. Surrender immediately or face the consequences of your aggression. You have 60 seconds to comply." Admiral Grex could not believe what he was hearing. These primitives were demanding his surrender. His ships carried enough firepower to sterilize their entire planet, and they were threatening him. He ordered his fleet to open fire and show these humans what real military power looked like. The alien weapons fired with devastating force, sending energy beams and missiles toward the human ships. Every shot was perfectly aimed and should have destroyed or badly damaged the human vessels. Instead, the attack struck the human shields and simply disappeared, like raindrops hitting a mountain. "Impossible," Grex whispered, as he watched. "His most powerful weapons have absolutely no effect on the enemy ships. His weapons could destroy planets, but they could not even scratch the human shields." This was not supposed to be possible according to everything the galaxy knew about physics and engineering. Captain Lim Hai-ri shook her head sadly at the alien aggression and gave the order to respond. Human weapons fired once, and the results were immediate and terrifying. 25 alien ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that not even debris remained. The remaining ships found their engines disabled and their weapon systems offline. The battle was being broadcast across the galaxy through communication networks the aliens did not know existed. Every species that belonged to the Galactic Council watched in shock as their most advanced fleet was casually destroyed by the humans they had dismissed as primitive savages. General Tech of the War Clan stared at his viewing screen in disbelief as he watched from his homeworld. The humans were not using any technology he recognized. Their ships moved like living things, and their weapons seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. This was not possible according to everything he knew about warfare. Admiral Yoon Jae-young led the human pursuit of the few surviving alien ships. But this was not just about winning one battle. This was about sending a message to every species in the galaxy that would change everything. The age of alien domination was ending, and the age of human supremacy was beginning. The surviving alien ships tried desperately to escape, but human vessels were faster and more maneuverable than anything they had ever encountered. One by one, the remaining ships were disabled and their crews taken prisoner. Admiral Grex found himself locked in his own brig while humans examined his ship. "You are not what we expected," Grex said to the human officer who came to question him. "Our intelligence indicated you were primitive and weak. How is this possible?" "Intelligence." Officer Park Min-young smiled at the defeated alien commander. "You saw what we wanted you to see. While you were watching our actors pretend to fail at basic spaceflight, our real scientists were building a civilization that surpasses everything your galaxy has achieved. You made the mistake of believing your own propaganda." The few alien ships that managed to jump to hyperspace carried news of humanity's incredible power back to the Galactic Council. Instead of reports of easy victory, they brought warnings of a species that possessed technology beyond galactic comprehension and military capabilities that could threaten every civilization in known space. Earth-hidden cities erupted in celebration as news of the victory spread through the underground networks. 50 years of preparation had led to total success in the first battle. The aliens had learned that humanity was not prey, but they had not yet learned how dangerous it was to hunt predators. The galaxy was about to discover that the species they had planned to enslave was actually the species that would enslave them. The war had begun, and humanity was already winning. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos, unlike anything in their long history. Representatives from hundreds of species shouted arguments and accusations, while security forces tried to maintain order. The holographic displays showed the wreckage of Admiral Greg's fleet floating in space around Earth, and no one could explain how it had happened. Ambassador Vex stood before the council with his metal body reflecting the flashing lights of alarm systems. His voice had lost its musical quality and now sounded harsh and frightened. The intelligence reports he had relied on for decades had been completely wrong, and 50 ships had paid the price for his mistake. The humans are not what we believed them to be, Vex announced to the panicked assembly. Our surveillance data was either completely inaccurate or deliberately falsified. The species we thought was primitive has technology that surpasses our most advanced civilizations. They destroyed our fleet like it was nothing. Emperor Kran of the Silicon Empire demanded answers that no one could provide. His people had ruled star systems for millions of years and had never encountered a species that could match their technology. The idea that primitive humans could build weapons superior to galactic science was impossible to accept. "Show us the battle recordings again," Kran commanded, and the great screens filled with images that made no sense to anyone watching. Human ships that appeared from nowhere and weapons that ignored physical laws and defensive systems that made the most powerful attacks useless. This was not technology. It was magic. Captain Beite Young monitored alien communications from his position on the human Deep Space Intelligence Station hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Every alien government was mobilizing their military forces and calling for total war against humanity. They were scared and angry, and ready to commit genocide to eliminate the human threat. Intelligence Director Hex reviewed 50 years of surveillance data searching for clues about how the humans had hidden such massive industrial capacity. Every observation showed humans struggling with basic technology, while somehow they had built a fleet capable of challenging the entire galaxy. The deception was so complete, it seemed impossible. But the aliens were about to learn that Earth was not humanity-only stronghold. Admiral Shin-Gyu Young activated the Galactic Communication Network from the hidden command center and sent coded signals to human colonies scattered across the galaxy. The message was simple and had been planned for decades. Operation Galaxy Storm was beginning. Dr. Won-Hai Jin sat in her laboratory on the Human Research Station disguised as a dead moon orbiting a gas giant in the Centauri system. For 30 years, she had been sending scientific data back to Earth, while studying alien technology and preparing for this moment. When the activation signal arrived, she smiled and began her real work. The research station suddenly came alive with activity as stealth systems deactivated and revealed a massive military installation. Human ships emerged from hidden bays and weapon systems that had been disguised as communication arrays, rotated toward nearby alien colonies. The dead moon was actually a fortress that could destroy entire fleets. Similar revelations occurred throughout the galaxy as human agents dropped their disguises and revealed their true purpose. Commander Moon Jae-ho had been working as a trader on the commercial station at Vega for 20 years, and aliens had never suspected he was human. When he activated the hidden weapons systems built into the station, the aliens finally understood how completely they had been infiltrated. The psychological impact was devastating. If humans had been operating throughout the galaxy without detection for decades, what else did the aliens not know? How many of their trusted allies were actually human spies? How many of their secure facilities had been compromised? How many of their military secrets had been stolen? Senator Locke from the Trade Federation discovered that half of his most profitable business partners were human agents who had been gathering economic intelligence for decades. The humans knew every trade route, every financial weakness, and every resource deposit in his territory. The species he had thought was primitive had been studying his civilization like scientists studying insects. General Zek tried to rally the War Clan for a counterattack, but found that many of his weapons facilities had been sabotaged from within. Human agents working as maintenance personnel had been gradually weakening critical systems for years. When the War Clan tried to mobilize their fleet, half their ships could not leave their hangars. The paranoia spread faster than any virus, as every alien civilization began suspecting their neighbors of being human collaborators or disguised human agents. Trade agreements collapsed as species accused each other of working with the humans. Military alliances crumbled as allies questioned each other's loyalties. The galaxy was tearing itself apart from fear. Elder Kryn of the Crystal Collective watched her ancient empire begin to fracture as colonies declared independence rather than face human retaliation. Her people had survived for millions of years by being cautious, and now their caution was telling them to abandon their leaders and seek peace with the humans before it was too late. Captain Park Soo-young led the human fleet that emerged from the hidden base in the Orion Nebula, where humans had been secretly mining exotic matter for 40 years. Her ships were even more advanced than the ones that had destroyed the first alien fleet, and she had orders to capture key alien installations before they could mount effective resistance. The galaxy military response was hampered by the discovery that humans had infiltrated every major command structure. Battle plans were known to human forces before they were implemented. Supply lines had been sabotaged years in advance. Communication networks had been compromised from the beginning. The aliens were fighting blind against an enemy that could see everything. What terrified the alien leaders most was the realization that this level of infiltration and preparation could not have been accomplished in a few years, or even a few decades. The humans had been planning this takeover for generations while pretending to be primitive and harmless. Every interaction between humans and aliens had been part of a vast deception. The galaxy that had seemed so stable and secure just days before was now revealed to be a house of cards built on false assumptions. The humans had not just prepared for war, they had prepared to replace the entire galactic order with themselves at the top. This was not conquest, it was evolution, and the aliens were becoming extinct. The Second Battle of Sol lasted exactly 3 hours and 27 minutes. The largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history arrived at Earth, carrying representatives from every major civilization and enough firepower to destroy solar systems. They came expecting to overwhelm humanity through sheer numbers and found themselves facing something that made their worst nightmares seem pleasant. Admiral Park Jun-ho commanded the human defensive force from his flagship positioned at the edge of Earth gravitational field. His fleet had grown beyond anything the aliens could have imagined, with 10,000 ships, each one larger and more advanced than anything in the galactic arsenal. The humans had been busy while the galaxy mobilized for war. The alien fleet stretched across space like a metal ocean, with ships from hundreds of different species flying in formation. Every vessel was armed with the most destructive weapons their civilizations could produce and protected by shields that could withstand planetary bombardments. This was the combined military might of the galaxy united against a single species. Admiral Nex of the combined fleet stood on his command bridge looking at sensor readings that showed the human force arrayed against him. The numbers were impossible, but the sensors did not lie. Somehow the primitive humans had built a fleet that matched his own in size and apparently surpassed it in technology. "Begin the attack," Nex ordered, and thousands of ships opened fire simultaneously. The space between the fleets filled with energy, beams and missiles and exotic weapons that could tear apart the fabric of reality itself. It was the most concentrated display of military power the galaxy had ever seen, and it should have been enough to destroy any enemy. The human ships moved, like dancers avoiding most of the alien fire while their shields absorbed the rest without visible effect. Captain Jang Subin led her squadron in a weaving pattern that brought them through the alien formation, while their weapons carved paths of destruction through enemy ranks. The aliens were shooting at ghosts while the ghosts were destroying them. "This is impossible," Nex whispered as he watched half his fleet disappear in the first hour of battle. His ships were being destroyed faster than his computers could count the losses. The human weapons seemed to ignore distance and time, striking targets that should have been protected by multiple layers of defense. The battle was not even close. Human ships moved between alien formations, destroying everything they touched while taking no damage in return. The aliens had brought medieval swords to fight gods, and the outcome was never in doubt. Within 2 hours, the galaxy combined fleet was reduced to scattered survivors begging for mercy. Captain Jang Subin led the boarding parties that captured the alien command ships. The galaxy leaders found themselves prisoners on their own vessels, forced to watch as human technology took control of every system. Emperor Kran tried to activate his ship's self-destruct sequence, but found that humans had already assumed control of his vessel. The surrender came before the third hour ended. Admiral Nex broadcast the unconditional capitulation of all Galactic forces on every communication channel. The combined military might of hundreds of civilizations had been defeated by a single species that most of them had never considered a serious threat. Commander Lee Da-young received the surrender from her position on the human command ship. 50 years of careful preparation had achieved total victory beyond anything the planners had dared hope for. The species that had pretended to be weak had proven to be stronger than the rest of the galaxy combined. President Yang Soo-jin addressed. The conquered galaxy from Earth revealed Capital City. The underground civilization emerged into daylight, showing billions of alien observers the true face of human society. Massive cities with gleaming towers and parks filled with happy families. This was not a desperate military bunker, but a thriving civilization that had chosen to remain hidden. The terms of surrender were broadcast to every planet in the galaxy. All military forces would be disbanded immediately. All weapons of mass destruction would be turned over to human authorities. All governments would be restructured under human supervision. Species that cooperated would be treated fairly, but those that resisted would face complete elimination. Dr. Kim Min-young began the great work of cataloging alien resources and technology. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of advanced equipment now belonged to humanity. The process would take years, but when it was complete, humans would possess the combined knowledge and resources of hundreds of civilizations. The alien species that had spent centuries conquering others found themselves conquered by the prey they had planned to enslave. The irony was bitter but complete. They had created their own downfall by underestimating a species that had been preparing for this moment since first contact. Some alien leaders tried to negotiate better terms but discovered that humans were not interested in negotiation. This was not a temporary occupation that would end when the aliens learned their lesson. This was a permanent change in galactic power structure. Humanity had decided to rule, and nothing would change that decision. The galaxy entered a new age under human leadership. Species that had existed for millions of years found themselves taking orders from beings they had considered primitive just months before. The transformation was complete and irreversible. Humanity had evolved from prey to predator to ruler in a single generation. From the hidden cities of Earth to the furthest reaches of galactic space, humans emerged from shadows to claim their inheritance. The long deception was over, and the age of human supremacy had begun. The galaxy belonged to humanity now and would remain theirs for all time. The aliens had taught humanity an important lesson about power and deception. Now, humanity would teach the galaxy what it meant to underestimate the species that had learned to hide their strength until the perfect moment came to strike. The students had become the masters, and school was permanently in session.